Hi folks, it's Pete here from Ashton's Cars, and today I'm showing you around this 62 plate BMW 318D. This is the M Sport model and it's also the Touring, so it's quite a desirable model in the 3 Series range. This model of 3 Series is the one that was introduced late 2012, so it's what's known as the F90 model. It's a good looking car, as you can see. Big sort of jump in the tech and in the quality, I think, over its predecessor. This particular one, being an M Sport, comes with a few extras on it, but the previous owner has already added to this with some extra bumper extensions here at the front. You can see the high gloss black. He's also changed the grille on this particular car for an all black with the twin bars. Normally these are just one bar and often have a chrome surround. Ours, as you can see, has got a more sporty looking, more modern looking grille on it. So it's an M Sport, this with a little bit extra. So, but a lot of what I'm telling you will also be relevant to other M Sport, to other 318 diesel models. So this particular car I'm looking at, it's done 126,000 miles. It's finished in bright white. It's got the 18-inch wheels on it, which have been refurbished in black. It is, in my opinion, one of the nicest colour combinations for an M Sport 3 Series. Really does sort of ping at you with the black and the white. Even on a dull day like today, this car is a real attention grabber. Obviously, if you're looking at 3 Series, it's the big toss-up whether you want to go for an M Sport or an SE, or one of the other sort of lower end models. The M Sport models do carry a premium. You will pay extra for one of these, but what you do get is the looks. This car's got a full leather interior as well, and as well as those 18-inch wheels, it has got lower, sportier suspension over a standard 3 Series. So it does really sit very nicely, this car. It is the 318 model. It's a 2-litre diesel. It's about 145 horsepower, and it costs, at the moment, at the time I'm filming this, about £135 a year to tax it. So it's pretty environmentally friendly. It's very, very good on fuel. It does over 50 to the gallon, and performance is brisk. So you have got the best of both worlds on this car. Obviously, it's not the most powerful 3 Series that you can buy, but it's more than ample for the job. It's still going to do 0 to 60 in around about, I think it's about 8 point something seconds. So other things you need to know about 3 Series cars. Well, BMWs in general all have a cam chain as opposed to a cam belt. And years ago, that meant that the cam chain lasted the life of the car. But that's not the case anymore. What I found over the years with BMWs and even Mercedes, that some of the cam chains on the cars are liable to causing issues, you know, once they hit around about 100,000 miles. So this car's had a new cam chain put on it, and that's very, very important because it's a very expensive job to replace it, and an even more expensive job if the cam chain actually fails, because it can destroy the engine. And an engine for one of these, you're looking upwards of £5,000. So ours has had a new cam chain fitted to it. Things to look for if you're buying one of these guys is when you start the car up, especially when you start it up from cold, beware of any strange rattles from the engine. If it rattles for 5 or 6 seconds before it turns to a normal idle, that is a sign that the cam chain has worn on the car. And you need to really be walking away from cars that have got a cam chain rattle on them. Other things to watch out for, as with most diesel manual cars, is the dual mass flywheel. If that's making a rattling sound when you depress the clutch, it's a sign that the dual mass flywheel is starting to break up, and again, that's expensive, upwards of £1,500 on this car. You also have to replace the clutch at the same time, or certainly it's advisable to do so. This car has had, again, very recently, a dual mass flywheel and clutch fitted to it. So the car I'm looking at here, I know from looking through the history, it's right. It's got full service history. It's had those 2 very important and very expensive items changed on it. Just beware of the car that looks too cheap, that looks like an absolute bargain, and when you look through the history, you find out those items have not been done and are due to be replaced, because you can straight away throw a few £1,000 down the drain, and what you thought was a cheap bargain 3 Series can turn into an absolute nightmare. So That's what I would look for in general if you're buying one of these. If you're still with me and you're interested in this particular one, it is a car that we are selling here. So, as I've already said, it sits on 18-inch wheels. It's been recently refurbished. Car's got good quality tyres all round. As you can hopefully see there, they're Bridgestones. It's very, very clean about the bodywork. If you just look down the side of it, you will see there are no marks, despite the fact that it's 10 years old now, this car. There are no dinks. And despite the fact it's a low car, there's no grazes on that front splitter. Again, something to look for, guys. Get down, have a look, make sure there's no splits in that front bumper. It is a very low car, this. It's all too easy to catch it on curbs and ramps. If it's not been looked after properly, you're going to need to be doing paint repairs on it before you even buy it. As you can see as well, the alloy wheels on this car are excellent condition. They have been refurbished by the previous owner, but there's something that I would again be very careful about. Make sure that you look at the car carefully. Make sure there's no gouges out of those wheels, because they're expensive wheels. Make sure they're not buckled in any way. They're very, very small sidewalls on these cars. It's very easy to catch the wheels and damage them. This one I've already checked for you. It is absolutely perfect. Let me show you around a little bit more. I love BMWs. I've actually got a BMW myself. So when it's an M Sport like this, I'm always very interested and very keen on the car. Things I like on BMs, well, for a start, I've got a split tailgate on the back, so I can lift the roof up separately and I can access the boot through here. Or I can do the more traditional method of opening the whole hatch, and that's electric. The 3 Series saloon, the one criticism people have is that it has a small boot, but that's easily addressed with this touring model. There's loads of space in here. It's very practical and it's a good size as well. It's nice and easy for access. I've even got things like a plug socket in here for a 12-volt electrics, and a handy little hook there for my shopping bags. So it's well designed and very well laid out. There is no spare wheel on these because these cars have got run flat tyres, but you have got a little bit of extra storage, as you just saw, underneath. To close the boot, simply press the button and let the car do it for me. Moving on to the back of the car, this newer shape 3 Series, I think the interior is among the nicest of changes that they made when they brought this model out. It really does look the part. The leather just seems to be that much nicer. The interior doesn't feel quite as dreary as older 3 Series models, and yeah, it's quite a pleasant place to be. There's also quite a bit more room. It's a bigger car than its predecessor, so there's quite a lot of space in here. It's a proper 5-seater, this car is. There is a big transmission tunnel because, like all 3 Series, this car's rear-wheel drive, but aside from that, there's still quite a lot of room for 3 adults in the rear. Now, this is epic timing because it's starting to rain quite heavily and I'm getting in behind the wheel of the car. So let's have a look at this interior from behind the wheel. Again, it's a really nice interior on this car. Much, much nicer than BMWs of old, I think. You've still got the iDrive system, but now it all makes sense. Early ones were a little bit weird and felt a little bit you know, clunky in the way they worked. These newer iDrives are much easier to use, make much more sense, and have got a lot of these handy touch buttons all over them to get you to where you need to be on the sub menus. That said, it has got just traditional switches here for the temperature, like a turn dial, and you've got heated seats on the car, which is just a press button. And I like that I haven't got to go through a sub menu on a touchscreen to get to those things, so that's really good. The car has got probably the nicest steering wheel of any production car I know, or certainly any sort of standard production car. I really love it. It's chunky, it's thick, and it's got these nice sort of fin looking spokes on it. It really does look beautiful, and it's a proper classic design. The car has done 126,000 miles, as I've already said, but it's in very, very good condition in here. There's no real sign of wear. Even things like the gear knob and the steering wheel feel as if they are still quite new, and they really don't feel like they've had any heavy use at all. It does still feel like a car that will do 250,000 miles in its stride. So if I dip the clutch and just press the start button here, She starts instantly. As you can see, I've got my display here which has just come up. I can turn the radio down just by the conventional knob, or I've got some buttons on the wheel, and I've got my cruise control on the wheel as well. I have got some driver modes on this car which are worth mentioning. So this is not on every single BMW of this age, but a majority of them now have got these driver modes. I'll just turn that down a little bit. So we've got Eco Pro, which if we press that, it puts the car into a high economy mode where it will actually use less energy from its climate control systems. It'll increase the car's sort of engine braking and things like that, and it'll also reduce the throttle response to make you drive more responsibly. I've also got regular mode, or comfort as it's called on this car, and that's a nice straightforward mode that is the default when you start the car up. It just drives like a normal 3 Series. And then, should I want to go racing, I've got dynamic driving. In dynamic driving mode, the car does feel sportier, more responsive, and it doesn't technically make more power, but it feels more powerful because as soon as you touch the throttle, there's an instant response from the car. It's got what they call twin entry turbos, this car has as well, which I won't waffle on about too much and complicate things, but essentially it means the turbo, it's a single turbo with 2 different levels of boost on it. Makes the car's power delivery seem very smooth because you've got a lower boost at low revs, and then as the revs increase you can get the bigger, higher boost kicking in. So it's easy to drive this car, it's very safe, and you've even got things like, I'll just try them out now for you, you probably won't show anything because there's nothing around me, but I have got front and rear parking sensors that come up on that screen. They come up with a handy sort of beeping sound, as well as a visual guide on there, which that all lights up green and orange and red when I'm near objects. It's quite easy to use, and it's just very sort of makes the car that little bit easier to drive. Worth mentioning is that the heated seats on these BMs are the best heated seats I have ever sampled. I've got one myself, as I said. They are so warm and toasty, you barely need them on mode 1, let alone they have got 3 different settings, so you can put them on the high setting if you really want to roast yourself. And I've got my Bluetooth mobile phone system, not audio, just for the phone, but I have got it all set up through the iDrive here. I've set mine up earlier and it's dead easy to do, and if I can do it, pretty much anyone can, so it's nice and easy. So despite the fact I've got all the tech, I've also got things that are quite untechnical, like a conventional handbrake, and I like that because it's one less thing to go wrong on the car. One thing that I dislike on a lot of modern cars is the fact that you've got 100 different touch screens on the car, and that you've got a stupid electric handbrake that you really don't need on a car. So it's nice that BMW have stuck to having some things quite analog. The technology that you want is on you, in terms of the fact it has got the keyless go, which is quite handy in fairness, and it has got things like the heated seats, the reverse sensors, and that iDrive system, but it's also reassuringly analog, so you're not going to get into trouble with this car. Personally, I love them. I like the trim on it, I like the fact that it's got this metal look trim, I like the blue colour accent that goes through it as well. The car, to me, looks very, very sporty, very stylish, and as I say, this wheel in particular is a real feature that I love. It just feels so good when you're driving this car, and with it in dynamic driving, it's so responsive, it really does feel quite sporty, despite the fact it's the diesel 2-litre high economy model. So my view on these is they're a great car. If you're looking for a sporty but practical estate car, you really can't beat a 3 Series Touring. So if this one's of interest to you, please give us a call. My number's 07932 873 646. Feel free to comment. We'll always leave the comments open, so if you've experienced of a 3 Series, let us know. Please, as I say, if you're looking at these cars, beware of the cam chain, be aware of things like the dual mass flywheel on them. Just make sure that it's being maintained properly, essentially. Don't rely on the fact just because it's a BMW it'll last forever without servicing. It won't. It won't. But overall, these are a reliable car if they're looked after properly. So give me a call if this is of interest. 07932 873 646. That's the number. Please give us a like, share and subscribe to our channel for more car buying advice and more videos of cars we have available for sale like this one. My number one more time though is 07932 873 646. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thanks ever so much for watching our video. Have yourselves a great day. Goodbye.